Yes. Welcome! In this episode of Cool Grad Videos, we're going to talk about different grading policies adopted by professors in different countries of the world. Students who are going abroad, especially for the first time, need to keep in mind that professors in America, Canada, Europe, Australia and other countries grade very differently from lecturers in India. So this video talks all about the different types of grading policies and how you can max a course if you are aware of different grading policies. Before we proceed, let's first understand what is GPA. GPA stands for Grade Point Average. Grade Point Average means it's usually a scale of 4. So it's used to measure academic performance. 4.0 GPA means an A grade, and a 3.5 GPA is usually an AB grade, and a 3.0 GPA means a B grade, and below that it can go all the way up to F. F is like fail. So C is 2.0 usually, and the C, D, D, E and F grades. So between C and E the grades are not common. Usually most people give you an A, B or F, sometimes a C grade. So some universities, they don't even have anything in between an A and a B. They have only whole letter grades like A, B, C, D, E and F. They don't have grades like A, B or B, C or C, D. So in order to pass a course at a graduate level, most often you need at least a B grade or a 3.0 GPA. What is a good GPA to have? Well, definitely a 4.0 GPA is really good to have. But that means you need to get an A grade in like every single course, every research project and every project that you undertake. And that's not easy, believe me. In most MBA programs, we hardly find any students who have 4.0 GPA. In a technical program like a Master's in Computer Science or MS in Mechanical Engineering or MS in Electrical Engineering or that kind of programs, you do find a few students, maybe 2 or 3, who have a 4.0 GPA in a department every year. But it's difficult to get a 4.0 GPA, really difficult. So a good GPA to have is at least 3.5. So most of the companies like IBM, Deloitte, PricewaterhouseCoopers, they usually have a cutoff for their interviews while screening candidates, and they usually insist on at least a 3.5 GPA. And if you have anything less than 3.5, you're not even eligible to take their interview sometimes. And if a 3.0 GPA is the minimum you need in order to clear a course. Anything less than 3.0 and you might be asked to retake the course, and if you get less than a B grade, that's 3.0 GPA. Sometimes they might terminate your funding, sometimes they might even expel you from the program. You need to have at least a B grade in every graduate level course. That's important to survive in grad school. So sometimes in universities they have a concept called cumulative GPA. That is, if you have a lot of A grades and one C grade, then if the average is more than 3.0 GPA, you're good. Like in my MBA at the University of Arizona, we had that. All we needed was a cumulative GPA or CGPA of 3.0. Suppose you have 1 A grade, 1 B grade and 1 C grade, you're still good because the average is a B grade. But in other universities, where they might ask that you get at least a B grade in each and every course. So in any course you get a BC, you're screwed. Either you have to retake the course, or you have to take another course, similar course, or you have to probably leave the department. It can be different for different universities. My sincere advice to you, now this is important, if you are applying to grad school, whether it's MS or MIS or MBA, your best bet is to apply to a university or a department where they insist that the cumulative GPA is 3.0. That in order to graduate, you only need a CGPA of 3.0 or a B grade, as opposed to having a B grade at least a B grade in every single course. So talk to your seniors and ask them, do I have to get like a B grade in every single course, or is it okay if I get a C grade in some of the courses and my overall GPA is 3.0? And you're better off in a place where the CGPA is 3.0. So always try aim for 4.0 GPA. In some of my other videos, I'm going to talk about how to excel in your academics. But in this video, we're going to talk about the different grading policies adopted by professors, how they grade their courses, basically. The minimum GPA requirements, as I said, in most of the courses, if you get anything less than a C grade, definitely you have to retake the course. You cannot probably get away with it. Even the research projects and the research courses are graded. You ought to know that. Sometimes, they might take you on a business trip somewhere. Like in my MBA, we went on a business trip to Japan and South Korea, and even that was a graded course. How you behave there, how you, conduct yourself, and how you ask the right questions, how you participate, everything was graded. Whether your punctuality, how you dress, everything was graded. So, in universities, well, fortunately or unfortunately, almost everything is graded. So, you got to make sure you get at least a B grade in most of the courses, or sometimes all of the courses. So, how are courses graded? Now, most students, if they're from Indian universities, especially for undergrad, they're used to a concept wherein they have internal exams, tests and stuff, and the external exams, they write the answers and it's graded by some other lecturer in some other part of the state who doesn't even know you, and you just have to get like a 35% or a 45% or a 50% overall in order to pass that course. But in America and other countries, it's not like that. Professors try and know you individually. The class size is relatively small, and even if the class size is large, they pay very close attention to almost every student, and they make sure that they pay personal attention and they really assess whether you know the subject well enough. So in some courses, the professors, they have just exams. Some courses they have only assignments, some they have only projects, some do only research. It really depends on each professor, and professors in most of the Western universities have complete freedom to schedule their courses the way they like and to grade them the way they like. But they have to publish their grading policies at the beginning of the course itself, at the beginning of the semester. Typical course assignment. So, some professors might give you 3 closed book exams and an assignment. For example, if you're in mechanical engineering and you're taking a course called, like, say, sensor networks, or some theoretical course, or if you're in an MBA and you're taking a course in marketing, or if you're taking a course in mergers and acquisitions in finance or something like that. It can be any course, okay? These are general ways of grading any course. So the professor might give you, they announce right at the beginning of the semester, beginning of the course, that they're going to give you, like, say, 3 closed book exams at these intervals plus assignments. So they also give you the weightage of each exam. Say the first 2 exams might account for 50% of the weightage, and the final exam might account for 40% of the weightage, and the assignments only 10%. Or maybe the 3 exams might account for 75% of the weightage, or 90% of the weightage, and the rest of it is for the assignments. So they announce it usually right at the beginning. Or they might give you 2 closed book exams plus a project plus assignments. So that's another way of doing it. And the project might have weightage ranging from 20% to 50% or even 80%. It really depends on each professor. Or they might give you 2 open book exams and a project. So the open book exams might be, might have a weightage of, say, 50%, and the project another 50%. It really depends. Or they might give you 1 closed book exam and a project and an assignment and 1 take-home exam or an open book exam. So it can be, the courses can be structured in different ways. It's up to the discretion of the professor. And there's only team assignments in some courses. So it all depends on teamwork and how you get along with your team members and how you perform in your assignments. Sometimes they don't even have exams. And those courses, believe me, are probably easy. I would take courses where there are no exams but only assignments. That's kind of nice, right? And in some courses they have individual and team assignments. So they specify very clearly at the beginning of the assignment whether you can collaborate or not. So some assignments are only individual and some are collaborative. So if you collaborate with your team members on an assignment when it's supposed to be done individually, that amounts to academic dishonesty, that amounts to cheating, and you could fail a course because of that. In some courses you might have a group project and several individual assignments. So In some of the courses you might have just take-home exams, 2 or 3 take-home exams. And in some courses you might have only individual assignments. It really depends on how the professor wants to structure the course. So let's see what is a hard scale grading. Hard scale grading is when the professor announces the grading policy at the beginning of the course, and your academic performance is determined entirely by how you perform in the exams. It doesn't depend on how the rest of the class performs. That is hard scale grading. So these are the assignments, these are the tests, these are the exams, whatever. You get a 90% and you get an A grade. And you get anywhere between 85 to 89.99%, you get an AB grade. And anything between 80 and 85 is a B grade. And anything between 75 to 79.99% is like a BC grade. So anything below 70 is usually like a fail. So this is usually the structure for hard scale grading. And it doesn't matter how the rest of the class performs or how your teammates perform. If you have these grades, you get this grade. These points or this cutoff, you meet the cutoff, you get this grade. That's hard scale grading. It's better in some ways as opposed to curved scale grading. So, rounding up of scores. In some of the courses, suppose you get between 89 and 90%, the lecturer might tell you well in advance that they're going to round it up to an A grade. Some professors are very strict about the scale. Even if you get 89.99%, it's still like an AB grade and not an A grade. Sometimes they say only 90 and above is A grade. And sometimes if you get anything like say 89.5 and above is an A grade, they might round it up to an A grade. Or if you get 89 and above, they might round it up to an A grade. The same thing for like an AB grade. If you get 85 and above is usually AB grade. But if you get between 84 and 85, some percentage, they might round it off to an AB grade. It really depends on the professor, and you can ask them all these questions. Are they going to round up? This kind of stuff you can ask them at the beginning of the course itself when they publish their grading policies. Curved grading scale. So curved grading scale means you are graded relative to the performance of the rest of the class. So if the course is really tough, for example, and the maximum that people get in the course is like 55%, and the professor might have announced well in advance that the top 20% of the class will get an A grade, next 20% will get a B grade, and the next 20% a C grade, and the rest of them will fail, or something like that. Or he might say top 50% of the class will get an A grade, and the remaining 50% will get a B grade. Nobody fails. That kind. It really depends on the professor. So it means that your grade depends on the relative performance of the class. So curved scale grading, you have to measure how you're performing relative to the rest of the class. And sometimes if a course is relatively very easy and everyone is scoring 89, say 99 to 100%, even if you get a 92%, you might be getting a B grade. It's unlikely that they would fail someone like that, or they would get someone a C grade for getting 92%, but I'm saying it depends on the grading policy. If you're at the bottom of the class pyramid, even if you're doing really well, if the rest of your class is ahead of you, it's like a percentile basis. So if the rest of the class is ahead of you, you can still get a low grade, like a B grade. So you got to make sure you perform according to how the professor publishes the grading policies. What percentage of students get A grades? So as I said, the professor announces well in advance at the beginning of the semester as to whether the top 20% get an A grade, or anyone who gets more than 90% gets an A grade, or anyone who gets more than 80% gets an A grade. It really depends on the professor. So some professors are known to grade very tough. They might even fail more than 50% of the class students, and some might give everyone an A grade and just a couple of AB grades. So my sincere advice to you is to do your research before you enroll in the course. Why don't you talk to your seniors, consult them about the particular professor's personality, about how he has graded courses in the past, what students think about him. Is he known to be cranky? Is he known to be really cruel? Are his exams really tough? You've got to think about all these things before you sign up for a course. And if there's usually a time frame, like say 2 weeks or 3 weeks, during which you can withdraw from a course if you're not happy and take some other course. So I encourage you to try that out. So what are open book exams? Open book exams are when you're allowed to carry some notes or cheat sheets or some reference materials or research papers or sometimes your laptop to Google the answers. You can carry some reference material to the exam. So that's an open book exam. Some open book exams are electronics free. That is, you can carry only one cheat sheet or maybe a particular textbook or maybe some particular notes. You may not be allowed to carry your laptop or a cell phone. Whereas some professors, they don't care about what you reference. It really depends on each professor and each exam. But usually, open book exams might be slightly tougher than closed book exams. Because in a closed book exam, you have a fixed amount of time and you have to memorize a lot of stuff. And you have to write it mainly, from memory and also understanding. But open book exams, you have to write, you can refer the material, but don't think that it will be direct reference and copying it and writing. Usually you might note down a formula or you might note down some hints about some assignment, but it doesn't mean that you can directly put it down. You might have to do your analysis. Open book exams can be slightly tougher than closed book exams. And many times I've seen students opting for closed book exams as opposed to open book exams. Because closed book exams, usually professors make them kind of easy because it's closed book. And you may often be pressed for time and may run out of time in an open book exam. So many students, they go looking all over the textbook, doing extensive Google searches and going over all their cheat sheets and trying to find the answers. And in the process, they run out of time because they spend too much time on each question. And it's very important to time your answers in an open book exam. What are take-home exams? Take-home exams are when the professor gives you a question paper, you can take it home, and usually you can refer material on the internet, or sometimes they tell you not to refer any material on the internet. And usually they are like individual, so you can't collaborate with anyone. Take-home exams may be of 2-hour duration, or 4 hours, or 24 hours, or 1 week. It really depends. It can be anything in between. So you take it home and you're usually not allowed to discuss with anyone, not even a talking parrot or friends, parents, colleagues, no one. And if you collaborate, that's academic dishonesty. And if anyone reports you to the professor, or usually, sometimes they send out their spies, their employed people to check on their students who are taking take-home exams. And if the student reports that you are collaborating, or if they take a picture of you on their cell phones, or record a video, or there's a secret camera in the grad student lounge, or somewhere, and they know that you've been collaborating, then that's enough reason to fail you in an exam. I've seen this happen to people, believe me. Sometimes Indian students, they think they can outsmart the system. They think they can outsmart the professors. They sit together and collaborate and they word their answers differently after discussing the answers. Just because your answers are worded differently, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be out of trouble. For example, if students have made like the same mistakes in all the answers, even if the answers are worded differently, they're going to ask you, hey, you know what, you got all these questions right and they're identical. I mean, the number of questions, the questions you got right, both of you got the same questions right and you got the same questions wrong. And somebody tells me that the student was seen walking into the other student's house. So what have you got to say? And if you can't prove your innocence, that's enough to fail you in the course. So when they tell you not to collaborate, don't collaborate. Don't try to beat the system. It's not worth it. Most of the professors are really, really smart and they know student psychology really well. So don't even try to outsmart them. Don't. It's not worth it. So individual assignments versus group work. So if it's a teamwork based assignment, it's important to be with the right kind of team members. If you know that some team members are slackers, or if they're known not to be cooperative, or if they're not smart enough or hardworking enough, or if they don't gel very well with the team, you better not join that team in the first place if you have a choice. And once you're in the team, if you have problems, you got to have one-on-one discussions with people and sort out your problems and find resolutions. And if you have problems that cannot be resolved within the team, you have to escalate it to your professor well in advance. I've seen students suffer and take low grades just because their team members didn't cooperate with them, or because they couldn't get good teammates. So some assignments are individual and some are team-based. And if you refer any material on the internet, always make sure you cite the material. Cite it and say this is the place from where you got this answer. And one instance of plagiarism where you copy somebody's material and submit it as your own, whether it's from the internet or from your classmates, One instance of plagiarism is enough to fail you in a course or to even expel you from a department. Graduate students are not necessarily given warnings. You're old enough, you're expected to be mature enough to perform with integrity without any warning. Okay, so be very careful, try not to beat the system. Class participation. So some professors allocate about 10% of the class points, the course points, to class participation. So if you're like daydreaming, or if you're sleeping in the class or snoring, or if you're not paying attention, or you're playing video games, or if your cell phone rings in the class, then they're going to actually cut points for that. And some professors, they don't let you know up front if you're not participating well enough in the class. If you're not participating, they don't point it out and say, hey, you know what, can you pay attention? They don't tell you usually. They just make a note of it, and at the end of the course, when you get a low grade, you talk to the professor and they say, you know what, on this day you were snoring in the class, or you were not paying attention, you're usually last. They tell you something like that, and you can't really argue with that. But if you meet the professors regularly in their office hours and ask them how you're performing, they might give you very valuable feedback. So some professors, they don't care about class participation. So as long as you're getting good grades in their assignments and their exams, that's all they care about. They don't care whether you attend lectures or not. Some professors, they really don't care. They tell you well in advance in the class. But even in such courses, I highly encourage you to attend lectures and ask relevant questions in the class and make a good impression on the professors. Because in the end, when you need a recommendation letter, it's always helpful if a professor says, hey, she was always a very attentive student, she was asking good questions in the class, and they got to have some good stuff to write about you. So, and remember to ask relevant questions, meaningful questions in the class during class participation. Some students think they can just ask some stupid questions, ask some 10 stupid questions, and they think, hey, yeah, my participation is done, I've made an impact. Class participation is all about the quality of participation and not necessarily the quantity of participation. The quality of participation depends on whether you ask meaningful questions, even if you ask only 1 or 2 questions, as opposed to asking 10 stupid questions. So do your homework, do your research, and ask meaningful questions in the class. Meeting deadlines. So a graduate level program is all about deadlines, deadlines, and deadlines. So some students, when they first go abroad to a university, they are tempted to take more courses than required. So if the minimum number of courses is 3, I've seen grad students think, hey, come on, I can do 5 courses. They tend to forget that, unlike in India, each of these courses requires to get about 80% to pass. And that's not easy to get, believe me. Especially in your first semester, I encourage you not to overwhelm yourself and take the minimum number of courses and excel in those courses. Try and get a 4.0 GPA. You get the hang of the system, and then you can take more courses if you need. So, talking about deadlines. So if the exam is due at 5 p.m., so if you, for example, submit at like 5:05 p.m., 5 minutes late or 2 minutes late, sometimes the professors may not accept the exam. Yes, it's that strict. Sometimes they might cut 5% of the points, or 5 points, and they might let you submit. And sometimes when you have a project, suppose the project is due after 1 month, on the 5th of March. For example, they might give you 5 slip days. So by each day you slip, they cut like say 5 points, or 10 points, or 20% of the points. So they might give you like up to 5 slip days. And if you don't submit it at that time, you get an F. So some professors, they give you no slip days. It's due by this time and it has to be a hard stop. So I highly encourage you not to wait till the last minute to submit your projects and assignments, because you might run into a lot of unexpected problems. Like for example, health problems, emergency, car breakdown, network issues, there's a blizzard and the network is down, or your computer doesn't power on, or hard disk is burned out, something might happen. So please always submit at least 10 to 15 minutes before the deadline. So that's very important. So that brings us to the end of this video, and I hope you found it useful. It's all about how grading works in foreign countries. So go for it and max your courses. Thank you. Vinay Gupta.